Okay, a little bit past 8. Sorry, I overran just a fraction, but there was a personal request. So we're off and running. We're looking at the week of the 14th to the 18th of October. A disclaimer that trading involves risk or loss of capital, and make sure that anything that you understand, that everything mentioned here is just for educational purposes only and not in any way, shape, or form meant to be as a recommendation. There's my background for those who have been here before. Is anybody new here tonight? First time? And if so, how do you find out about it? Okay, and I'm an ex-Air Force fighter pilot with 2 master's degrees, one in computers and one in business. Active trader since 1998 and a full-time trader since 2009. I'm a technical trader, but I use limited fundamentals, and we'll talk about it as we go along. And I do provide mentoring if anybody would be so interested. Hi, Lenny. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And you've got a special offer at the end of the presentation for those who are not members of either Hunt and Run Candlesticks or Right Way Options. And stick around. At the end of the presentation, we'll have a special offer. Okay, we're going to go over the economic and earnings calendars as we normally do. Market overview, trade ideas, Q&A, first non-specific, and then I look at your stocks with only one per person, please. And let me, I'll announce it with a set of crosses in the chat room when we're ready for those stock requests. All right, economic reports this week. Nothing on Monday because it's U.S. holiday. It's a bank holiday, basically. Markets are still open full tilt. Tuesday we got the Empire State before at 8:30 before the market opens. Retail sales on Wednesday at 8:30, and then also on Wednesday we've got business inventories and housing market index at 10. Beige book at 2. The beige book is a lot less of an influence than it used to be. On Thursday, a big slate of news events: housing starts, jobless claims, and Philly Fed all at 8:30. Industrial production at 9:15. Nat gas, which is again less important than it used to be, at 10:30, and the petroleum is moved from Wednesday at 10:30 to Thursday at 11. Nothing on Friday except that possibly that Baker Hughes rig count at 1, if you're so inclined, and no major presentations by Fed members that I see. Earnings, we're kicking off earnings season starting Tuesday morning. No notable earnings on Monday, but Tuesday we've got Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, J&J, JP Morgan, Schwab, United Health, and Wells Fargo. On Wednesday, Bank of America pulls in, along with JB Hunt, Progressive, United Airlines, and USB. Thursday trading, again, note that these are Tuesday earnings would be after the bell on Monday plus Tuesday morning. Wednesday would be after the bell on Tuesday, Wednesday morning, and so on. Alcoa on Thursday, Dover, Honeywell, IBM, KeyBank, Netflix from Wednesday night, trade on Thursday morning, PM, Philip Morris, PPG, I think, no, it's SLG. I'm not sure if that's right. Taiwan Semiconductor. I'm interested to see what they do. They've got a lot of demand on their foundry, making chips for Apple, and they were trying to make some for IBM or Intel, and I know they're making a lot for AMD. Union Pacific and URI, one of my favorites out there. American Excuse, Coke, Kansas City Southern, Schlumberger, and Team on Friday. And please note, there could be omissions and errors in any of these. It is my best based on the information that I get, which is primarily off of briefing.com. And let's jump into the markets. Any specific reason why you think that, Betsy? I don't disagree, but all right, this is a 6-month view of the S&P futures. We have been bouncing up and down with a little bit of a bias to the upside. I am here seeing, I'm seeing a trend that goes from, well, let me draw it really easy here. I'm seeing basically this trend right here, rising trend, and pretty much holding its own. But we've got a double top here that we did, and this time around I would rather us do some sort of intermediate pullback and then attack the highs rather than trying to go attack them right away. My stochastics RSI that I use here is telling me 29.85 to 30.05 is probably about as high as we get on this move around. We probably have 1-2 days, maybe 3 at the outside here to the upside. Maybe only just a retest of this 3,000 area. Whatever we hit on Friday, and then pause or pull back. I'd love to see that. All right, let's jump into crude oil. Crude oil, go ahead and fill up your cars because it's going to rise again, but we got down to about 51 again. It's rising up. Stochastics RSI tells me that we're going to pause or pull back here for a day or so, at least a couple of days. You can see how refined gasoline is bumped up here, well, probably 10 cents. So it'll be 10 cents at the pump in about a week or a little bit less. Gold had the, with the attack on the tanker in the Red Sea, we didn't really get a heck of a lot of reaction to that. So that's interesting. Maybe the senses are dull to the traders. Dow looks an awful lot like the S&P. Again, I also see that trend from back here all the way up. NASDAQ, again, that trend all the way up. Looks like we're about ready to try to attack close to the 79.45, 79.50 area. And Russell, poor Russell can't get out of its own way. It does not have that trend line going higher. It did make a little bit of a higher low, made an equal high back here. We're trying to break the downtrend. We're probably going to have to pull back. It's going to have to prove it to me. All right, Betsy, thanks. And VIX, after the big scare, a very significant pullback from the 20s down to below 16. All right, let's go back to the presentation. Here's some trade ideas. You guys want to gather around those? Let me see here. Pull up TC2000. Let me go over to the longs. I'm going to go over them in alphabetical order for lack of any other reason to do anything different. Apple. I've got Apple on the long side here only because it did a breakout here, and I'm looking for a pull back towards the 225 level and then see what happens. Allergan, looking for a possible breakout above 169.80 area. And Allergan, I'll show you the area right there. Let me go to a 3-day chart, and you can see how we'll probably make an attack up to about 180, 189 area. The 184 is here. even 190. So Allergan could be a one to watch. It does have earnings on the 29th. Will it rally into earnings or not? Good question. Might be worth an options play here. We did get some balance of power on its last release here, and we jumped up, and then we basically have gone sideways. If I go to a weekly chart, you can see how I did that, pull back and went back up. So Bristol Myers reports on the 31st, Halloween. It did a little gap up above this 150 area. It could go to 53, 54 maybe. Balance of power doesn't really show me much of anything. The 3-day chart shows that we probably have a chance to get up close to 54, and the weekly shows the same. Not the strongest of the stocks I've got on the list here. Celgene, little mini breakout. Let's go to a 3-day chart. You can see I've got this marked at 110, which is the top of this little area after the gap down. But we also have the gap above that around 120. So we go to a weekly. The weekly doesn't show the gap, but the gap is filled in with one line. I think an attack on 110 is likely. Then is what merging? Are you thinking about SYF? Okay. Dollar Tree. I want to look at a 3-day chart here. And you can see how we've got basically a Fig Newton pattern where we have white or green candles either side of a black candle. So up days on either side. This is usually a continuation move. So if we were looking at that, Dollar Tree could easily go and attack. Where we are at is that 115.60 area, but I'm looking for a breakout to all-time highs. This 115 or so is, we're at that high area. Now, we're going to need follow-through. It didn't look great on Friday. It got up there, traded towards the highs at 116.75-ish, and pulled back. The bulls have got to take control. It could be a pullback and then a move higher. I'm not really sure, but this might be one to trade on a 3-day chart or potentially a Heikin-Ashi chart. All right. EVBJ, Everbridge. This is kind of a recovery mode stock here. It reports on the 4th of November. $71. There's really very little between 71 and 80 to 85, somewhere in that neighborhood. You can see how it's doing the rounded bottom here. It's not exactly a rounded bottom breakout until it gets above the 50, but it is trying to recover here. However, this would be kind of risky. I'd like to make sure that it gets over about 71 and get into that. You've got the 50 and the 200 converging together here. Yeah, Angel, but I don't put a lot of credence in those. I did notice it when I was talking there. I had not noticed it before, but I usually look for a move from the 34 up to about the 50 or 200, and that would be about 6 to 7%, about $5. And with an option play, 2 to 3 days, good balance of power. It could work, but it would be somewhat counter trend. This one could be one of those that goes up here and attacks the 50, probably follow the 50 back down a little bit, and then look for a break up or a break down. Either way. Okay? Again, I would use options on that one myself just to define my risk. It does report on the 4th. Is it going to rally into earnings or not? I don't know. Next one we got here is J&J. J&J reports on the 15th, which is Tuesday morning. This is not meant as anything except for me to watch and see how it behaves. And if it gaps up to the 135 level and starts to run, I want to be in on it. It's going to probably run for about $5. The 140-ish area is the first area. We call it, what, 139 maybe. Okay, and the next area above that is probably up here at 142. The reason I don't go all the way to the top, it's going to stair step its way up. These things are so huge that they're not going to run away normally, unless there's some major news. Yeah, EBBG. Okay, I did not look that. I went by JBL because JBL, NVIDIA, PayX, Sedge, SPOV, Sina, and X-Ray are there in the not on the recommendation list. Only recommendation. They're not on the watch list. All right. So thanks a lot though for paying attention, Alan. I was just checking to see if anybody's paying attention, right? No. I didn't want to eliminate him because he said something like JBL. This is not quite set up where I mean, we could get a breakout above 36 and change, and it's all-time highs. But I'm looking for a pullback. That's the daily. There's the 3-day. But we could just continue to power up higher. Now I'm going to look over here real quick at let's look at short interest. JBL. I think JBL doesn't. It's only got 3% short on the float, so it's not enough for me to expect a short covering rally. So depending upon what really happens here, if you're really interested about 36, it could be a player. I was just trying to keep the numbers at a reasonable amount. Okay, Upland. Oh, it was SGen. Cell Genetics move up, pull back around the 50% level, right at about the prior, the breakout level. So, see that right here? This happens a lot. Move up, pull back. It's now proven that that's one that wants to hold. This could be a decent play long if the options are any good. Upland. This is a round the bottom breakout. Kind of. It's a wannabe because there's not 10% to the 200. But this little area right in here, when I go to a 3-day, it shows that it probably wants to go up to about 42. So it's doing a higher high, higher low type of move there. And X-Ray. In fact, JBL is probably a better one than Upland. If you want to think about it. X-Ray is probably going to move up to this 5650. It's probably going to zigzag, assuming we can get a reversal of Friday afternoon's close. I'm not sure if everybody was watching, but the last 15 to 30 minutes in the markets was a pretty healthy sell-off. People did not want to be long this market over the weekend. They wanted to reduce risk. All right, let's go on over to the shorts. In alphabetical order, Accenture. We're in a downtrend. We're basically, if I were to use a basic regression channel, that's kind of what we're in. And we're basically riding the middle to lower part down. So I'd expect that to drop and keep dropping till we get close to the rising 200, which will be where we gap down back over here. It doesn't have earnings until December. So December 19th would be 3 months after the debacle back here. HEI, Again, I have not looked at options on all of these, or sorry, any of them. Probably ought to do that. We're now in a downtrend. We had a bit of a rally. It's rolling. It's rolling over again. Probably the 119 area would be at least one area. Into it, kind of a almost a shooting star or a shooting star wannabe here on Friday. Could we go back down to 260 or so? Yes. Could we go higher? Yes. So I have to play this at how it trades on Monday and Tuesday. MasterCard, pretty much the same thing. We closed below the, I'll call that the resistance level. We got up above it on Friday, like the 280, 50. I'll use round numbers here. So 278.50 area, that's roughly where we were above, and I call that my resistance. We're still pointing upwards, but we still have, with the stochastic RSI, but we still have negative balance of power. I don't put a lot of credence in that, but I always look and see how it's going. We did have increased volume on Friday, so let's see if we get increased buying power, we could bust above that. Match did a move up higher, then pulled back, gave it all back, and then some. We did a rally pretty much close to the 50, and now we may be trying to go back down and retest this at lows here. For those who are familiar with the blue ice failure, we went down to the 100 and then bounced up and then went down to pretty close to the 200 on an intraday basis. Could not go back down there. Did a bit of a hang around for a couple of days and then rally as the markets go higher. But now we're starting to roll back over. Balance of power has been negative for the whole time here. And the volume picked up quite a bit on the downside on Friday. When the markets were higher, it was relatively weak. Starbucks broke down below the 50. Tried to go to, I had a short setup for 89.25, wrote it down to my target of 83.50. I'm looking for a potential re-entry. And the levels of support down here could be around 78.75 or lower for Starbucks. Those could be targets. Shack. I played Shack to the long side here, and now it looks like it's trying to come back. The 50% retracement. Get rid of that puppy. If we break below the 91.5, there's probably not much to stop it until we get somewhere in this 85 level. Not sure if it has any good options or anything, but Simple looks like it did a reversion to the mean bounce. Break below the 50, went below the 100, tried to rally to the 50, looks like it's failing. If it rolls over and gets follow through, we could go all the way down to the 200. SPGI, again, rallied to the 50. Looks like balance of power tells me this is a false rally or potentially one. Price tells me if we get above 258 or so, it's a real rally. Otherwise, we go down to 243 or lower. I hate to say this, but United Health is in deep trouble. It reports before the bell on October 15th. So I'll see what happens. Well, XLF for the financials. And let's just, all right, big city banks, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs. Did I say Citi already? Yeah, Citi's doing a little bit better. But then we could look at KBE, KBW, no. The regional banks. KRE. Not looking so great on Friday. Yeah, Morgan Stanley. And I separate the ones that are true banks from ones that are also investing houses and multinationals. They can behave the same. They could also trade differently. It looks like right now they're trading all about the same. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it. Yum's hanging right below this 50 here. It's not giving me any indication which way it wants to go based on my stochastics RSI. The balance of power says that it's fairly weak. Let's see what Yum China's doing. It's pretty much doing the same, but again, I see a regression channel that it's following right here. And this one's pretty much a sideways move. Kind of like that. Give or take. I like to use the automated drawing tools here instead of my own trends because I may put a bias in there. Excuse me. By using the automated tools, it will force me to be directly on price. Okay, last one here on the shorts is YY. When I zoom in a little bit, it looks more like a failure than if I back out. If I go to a 3-day chart, it doesn't really look like it's a great short. If I go to a weekly, it also doesn't look like a great short. So YY may or may not be your cup of tea, and it may not work. So when we look at the SPX, there's our trend line to the downside. We broke above it. If we pull back and go down to 294 and then reverse back up, that would actually be a bullish sign. If we go down to 294 and fail and go below that, then I think Katie barred the door lower. I'm calling this 2-day excursion over here an anomaly at the moment. All right. So what I'm basically saying is get rid of that trend line. That's pretty much the channel we were in. We did an excursion out of it. Boom, back up. Came down in and proved to us that we could hold that volatility stop, and it went higher. If we go look at a 3-day chart, you can see how that anomaly shows up in a lower wick. And if we use a Heikin-Ashi, which will try to reduce some of the noise, you can also see the regression channel there. All right, let's go back to the chart. All right, I said stick around and we'd have an offer for those who are not members. I want to welcome everybody here. Yeah, hold on a second, Bob. Let me get this. I'll go back. There's a 60-day offer for $49, basically $25 a month, for either hit and run candlesticks or right way options. However, I have a special deal for you tonight. If you sign up for right way options for either right way options Is that the blog? Oh, I didn't mean the blog. If this, he had a 7:30, we had a trial offer. If you sign up for a monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual, maybe it's a quarterly, semi-annual, annual, and put in Save 50, you'll get 50% off. It cannot be a monthly, it'll be a quarterly, semi-annual, annual. That's only for new members. Now, Doug, if you're still here, I don't believe it applied to the monthly membership. Because in fact, if you did a monthly membership, you'd be better off to do the 2 months for $49. All right? Now, I'm going to say, without any equivocation whatsoever, I am extremely pleased to be associated with Doug as a friend, a trading friend. He is the best options trader that I have ever met, bar none. He puts out a video every day. Let me show you mine. My video, my YouTube channel. Yep, you'll get your money back. That's for sure. If nothing more than just education. But there's my YouTube channel. Here's Rick Sadler's and Mr. Right Way Options. RWO. Now sign up. I would sign up for Doug's and subscribe. You'll get his morning prep, stock market prep every day. You'll get things like how to use volatility stops and the Trendinator that he's got out here. Your 3/8 trap. This is all free. You know, this is it's invaluable. And then when you get into the room, you get all of the videos for training and stuff like that. And then every day from 11 to 1, you'll get live training and also trading ideas, candidates. And then twice a month, you'll get an additional Saturday training from 10 to 12 that's recorded. All right. Okay, let's move on here. And there's my StockTwits handle right here. If you want to follow along on StockTwits, I post less in StockTwits than I used to. I'm not day trading any longer. And again, my YouTube channel, you've got that. And then, all right, I'm going to open it up right now for general questions. This is not stock specific. You put any stock symbols up there, I'm going to ignore them and not come back. So do you have any questions about my setups? I know that Bob had the 3 lines on your chart. You said CV chart? Could you tell me CB? I'm not taking symbols yet. Okay. What chart were we looking at, Bob? I need a little more information to help you there. Okay. The icons on the TC2000 to draw the regression channels, it's right here. And you can either have them tagged or not. You may or may not have them pinned. I have them pinned on my left side. You may have them hidden. So you might have to go up over here on the right hand side where you have a pull down menu and can float them. Move on. Karen S. asks, do you have a strategy you use with regression channels? Oh no, Critter. How do I use BOP for my interpretations? I attempted to use balance of power as a primary tool. Now it's just secondary or tertiary in giving me further amplification of whether my thesis of a move higher or move lower, a bullish or bearish view, is warranted. So in match, this has all been, it was positive back here, but the balance of power went negative and stayed negative here. Yeah, I'm only using this for me in the short term because I'm only a short term trader. Now, if you went to a 3-day chart, it would change. If you went to a weekly chart, it would change. But from a daily perspective, I have been told, kind of off on the side, so it's not totally official, that the Wharton brothers used to know a lot of people that were institutional traders slash fund managers, and he would get information from them on what they were buying and not, and what they were distributing. Now, because of insider trading rules, they just use kind of a buy and sell. So other people can get that data, but they put it in a proprietary system here called the balance of power. So when it's negative, the bias ought to be negative. Yeah, large lot trades. Yeah, and it's their proprietary algorithm to try to show whether we have a positive or negative bias. Now that's all they're saying is it a bias to the long side or the short side? Doesn't mean it's going to continue forever. But what I normally do is I will look at the price action. I'll come up based upon the price action in my stochastics, but primarily price action, look and see what I believe it to do. I'll look at my stochastics and say if they're giving me any supporting my theory of which way it's going. And then I look at balance of power to see if it supports my thesis of which way it might go. So these are only secondary or tertiary indicators. Number 1 is price, number 2 is price, and number 3 is price. They're all in tier 1. Okay. Karen, now we're back. Do strategies used with regression channels? Well, not really. Where were we? Well, in this, I don't necessarily, regression is just the algorithm and methodology they take to draw it, but it's automatically drawing a channel for me. So in YUM, we're in kind of a trading range. So until we get above that, we shouldn't be trading. Until we drop below this level here, somewhere in this 111 area, we probably shouldn't be trading. This is all chop. We should avoid it. Now, I think I went to the SPX. Right in here, I believe it was the SPX. There was another chart that I was using the regression channel on, and we can do excursions for 1 or 2 days above or below the channel. So I treat this the same as I would a channel, but I have the computer automatically draw it for me. So I can't cheat. So I can't put my bias in it. Okay, I can get my bias a little bit as to how close I want. I'll move the regression channel a little bit left and right, and I will adjust them up and down to line up the lines, whichever one I'm trying to look at, the high or the low. Now this is an index as versus say Accenture, an individual stock. Now in this one, it's pretty wide. If you notice, it has about $4 and 2% average to range, so it's not out of the question that this was probably the range. I'd shrink it a little bit here, And this is, as long as we're in here, we're not at the extremes. We're at the extreme bottom. I'd expect a bit of a rally. What that would tell me in this with a downward bias, probably time to break profit or short. I don't think it's time to go long because I trade in the direction of trend. But when I get up here and I get a price candle that shows me, it gives me a sell signal, could it drop to the bottom of the range? Yes, without a doubt. So that's kind of how I use it. We're kind of meandering in the bottom part of the range, and I would have to decide whether, if it went down on Monday, am I okay with it dropping to 182 and say only a $3 profit? Well, maybe if I was using very short-term options, that might be good. Don't know. You'll have to decide yourself as to what your reward to risk ratios would be, how good they'd be. Okay. I think, Bob A., have I answered your question there, sir, when I talked about the regression channel? I think I have. Okay. No, A. Bob A. Yes, okay. To do... Charles wants to know, give me a candlestick sell signal or two besides the engulfing, bearish harami, and doji that trades down the next day, please. Well, let's get over to here. Go to my videos. There is, stop it. Okay.
Again, this was.
I'm going to take this out. There's an hour. There's a freebie for you. Talking about the numbers e-learning that we had back in 2018, about a year ago, and it talks about my favorite patterns, both bullish and bearish. So
Chart patterns.
It talks about continuation patterns.
J-hook or zigzag.
Okay, and I have a bearish. Oh man, let me find that. Hold on. It's coming up. All right. Shooting Star, Mr. Charles, Evening Star, and then we got the, let's go over here. Every one of these has there could be a J-hook or an inverted J-hook where, in fact, we get a thrust down followed by a curl back up, rally, and then these are all the bullish. Kind of hard. Do I have, I don't think I have a bearish J-hook, but what it would look like would be you would have a thrust down followed by a rally anywhere between 25 to 60% or so, and then a roll back over. Target 1 would be a retest of the low. Target 2 would be at least a measured move, with each of those two being the same. And Hanging Man, gotta have follow through confirmation. But if you've had a move up and it's getting a little long in the tooth, maybe it's a long ways away from the 8 exponential fry. Betsy has got some stuff. Okay. There's a shooting star. Evening star, where you have bullish move up, kind of an indecision candle, and followed by the move back down. Again, all candlesticks will need confirmation, so it's at least a 3 candle pattern. There's your bearish, an ABG. There's the bearish reversal here. I've only shown the continuation to the move up. The continuation could be inverted to be the continuation down. Same here, consolidation, bump it up against resistance, rising wedge. If it's a falling wedge, you're pushing to the downside, probably going to break out to the downside. There's your bullish and bearish. And there we go. So if you want to look at the video, be my guest. It's a little over an hour long. Like there's a lot of stuff out there in my on my video channel, and it grows every week. We'll usually post something out there. Okay, now Betsy was trying to help me out. Now let's go see. She wants like a Sherwin-Williams. Yeah, that's a bearish engulf. Knock. And that's kind of a bearish belt hold here. This one doesn't look so bad as a short. Let's look at that. Yes, it is. Right there. You're welcome, sir. No, you didn't screw up at all, Betsy. No. Did you say NP? That's kind of a shooting star. Up at a resistance level. I think that's a pretty good candidate. Dolores is, now, Dolores, when you said Microsoft, you're talking about, yeah, kind of a, well, see, Microsoft, this is one of those where it's a sell signal potentially. You're up at your resistance. This would need, now, if I were long Microsoft, I'd be taking half off right now on Friday. When it got up there, and it got up to the prior swing levels around 141, I'd have been out half. I would have been out half. Because that's my first target. If I got in over here in the J hook, either we did the gap reversal signal here, the kicker, bullish kicker, or definitely when it got back up here 138 or so and it ran, that's probably target 1 for me. Right in there. And target 2 or 3 would be as higher than that, and I'm going to trail it out. And if it goes and forms this kind of candle on Monday, and filled in, and that's down black, I'd be out. Alrighty then, let's get rid of those. No further general questions. Let's go to Jonathan. Got just behind me. All right, one symbol only. And I would prefer you tell me whether you're long or short, or I'll have to make an assumption. And you know what happens when I assume. All right, Jonathan B. wants Rexer long, R-E-X-R. Rex Ford, a little steady Freddy. I would probably want it to be a pullback and then move up. Now here's where one of the balance of power doesn't really quite fit what's happening with price. It has been negative since the end of August, really, when it went negative. And what could that be? It could be that people are less enthusiastic about it. We had a big down day price-wise here on the 20th, but price didn't really move. This could be reporting from a dark pool, that would not move the price. Somebody selling, but somebody has to be a buyer on that end as well. It does look bullish. 3-day chart. You see there's nothing. And then notice how the balance of power, you go from a daily to a 3-day, and it suddenly has a whole different picture, doesn't it? Weekly, balance of power doesn't tend to work that well there on the weeklies, but 3-day shows positivity, negativity on the daily. I'd wait for a dip down to the 8 or the 17 and then a move up. Okay. MGI for John. MoneyGram. I'm not a fan of stocks, first of all, this cheap. It does trade 1.9 million, so it has enough liquidity. The problem I've got also is you're in a downtrend here. Now, what am I going to want it to do? For it to earn my money, I needed it to come up here and make a newish high. Now I needed to establish a higher low, and then I need another higher high. So the definition of an uptrend, from a downtrend to an uptrend, so an uptrend is higher highs, higher lows. So the low that was here becomes there, and there, and there. So you're pointing upwards overall. You zigzag, but you're upwards. This has got the first part of it, but it won't earn my money until it gets over about 450. Can you get in a little earlier than that? Possibly. All right. Let's see. I'm going to pick out your first one there, Bob S. Align. Align's probably going to try to get up to here. It reports on the 23rd, which is 10 days from now. So next week. Align. Well, this is in a whole different category. If we look at the EMAs, it dipped in August, but it's definitely in an uptrend now. Whereas Align, not exactly. JCOM, when did they report? They both report soon. This one's too far extended from the T-line to be going long from here. You need a pullback. I don't think it's going to probably pull back to 92 1/4, but a pullback and then a curl back up, that could work. James wants to look at MKC short. What I don't like trying to short stocks that are still in an uptrend, say above their 50. I'd love for stocks to be below their 50 in a rally and short the rally below the 50. Because that means a lot of institutions will wait until it gets above the 50 before they go long. So this one, it may sell off a bit, but you may get buyers anywhere in here from 162 to 164. And it's above the volatility stop. So this is more looking for a buy the dip type of thing. Now, that said, let's get the screen door crayon out here. We did a lower high, lower and equal low, but the problem we got here is that we're forming some sort of wedgie. This may be in no man's land. So you get a breakout above or a definite breakdown below, but a breakout above, I'd say. Angel wants to look at beyond short. I am going to go to one thing here. I'm going to go over to the short interest because this is a cult stock. And it already has 27% of the float is short. So any bullish condition or rally is going to get fuel added to it to the upside. There's already nearly a third of the people are short this puppy. And one of the problems I've got with Amazon when it was first out, Google when it was first out, I mean, that shows how old, how far back I go. GoPro, Tesla, those are cult stocks. I tend not to short cult stocks because they have a cult following, and those people will do things that are irrational. They will buy into it because they buy into the hype. So this one's kind of tough. Now, the pattern, if it breaks below this 131 area, it could go down here to 104. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't really know about the IPO lockout. I bet you it's coming up. We're talking about May, number 5. We're coming into month 10. If it's a 6-month lockout, they could be trying to get rid of it pretty soon. Yeah. Now that could be more fuel to the fire to the downside. So I can see what you're doing there. If you did that, let's go look at a 3-day chart. You can see how that 130, 135, and there's the weekly. And it looks like it wants to try to go lower as well, but don't put as much credence in the weekly. 1 and 3 days. This 1 day, if you look at the EMAs, it's not all that concise. Or 3-day chart shows. Let's see what Hike and Ashley says. Hike and Ashley said we did a flip last week. See if you can get a bounce on this puppy and get a better entry. Look at a 2-hour chart. See if you could get a bounce up to 138 or so and have it roll over on a 2-hour or an hourly chart. See, we're kind of extended now. You'd be holding your nose. Okay? You got it, Angel. You'll have to figure out what your reward to risk is. My stochastics say we're liable to get a bounce here pretty soon. Nice bounce up to anywhere around the 138 to 140 level. Might be sweet. Thanks. Bob A wants to look at CGC long. All right, no more stocks, please. Canopy Growth's also going to need a bounce. I would drill down maybe to an hourly or 2-hour chart. Yep. The hourly shows up pretty well. If we're going to bounce somewhere up around 2050 or so. This was one of those in favor back over here, then it dropped out of favor and did a little bit of a rally. You might want to look at a Heikin-Ashi, 2280 or so. The options aren't all that great. That's where you guys, everybody can hear me? My sound's looking pretty good from here, so. Okay, great. CGC is going to need a bounce first before you can short it, really. RAD. RAD, R-A-D. All right. Let me show you a 3-day chart on Rite Aid. It's trying to bounce. I don't know what's going on with maybe somebody trying to sell off the assets, or maybe if they could do some financial engineering and try to create some value out of nothing. But Rite Aid has been a bankruptcy waiting for a place to happen for a while. Just like Sears, Kmart before that. JCPenney's is another one that I would steer clear of. And the reason I'm mentioning this is that Rite Aid did a reverse split 1 for 20 back here in April. Why do stocks do reverse splits? They do reverse splits because they're about ready to be delisted. Well, a lot of you got to keep the price up so that institutions can hold it. Well, the reason it gets that low in the first place, divide, say, 10 by 20, it gets below $5. It gets below, what, 50 cents. So the problem I've got is that these stocks are just dead men walking. I avoid them. There's a whole bunch of better ones. Now, could this one take off and somebody comes up with a plan to sell off the parts or whatever, it goes to 15? Yes. Is that likely? Not in my mind. Not when people like CVS and Walgreens are building their own stores at almost every corner. Now, they could be trying to find a way to, maybe they have properties in major cities in the Northeast or something like that. I don't know. I would suspect they lease them instead of own them. So I'm not sure. But I avoid them like the plague because they have the history of going down. Okay. Robert K. wants to look at KPTI. KPTI. Only problem with KPTI now is it's got good volume. It moves 6% a day. Can you handle that volatility? And it looks like it's flattened out according to the EMAs. It's hanging above the 50. I would make it break 1070, 1075. Make it prove it wants to go higher. Balance of power is negative. After it did this move up, it was good. It's moved from there. It moved almost 100% in less than 3 months. And then did a pullback. Let's do a 3-day chart. Here's the weekly. You can see we got up to this $11.50 level. And we ran into resistance. Maybe on the weekly it does, and the 3-day it doesn't look so bad, but I'd still make it break 1050 or so. I think there might be easier stocks to trade out there than that, though. CB wants to look at HD, bearish. Now, bear call. I'll assume you're talking about a bear call spread. Maybe if it opens down and starts trading down on Monday, but then that's a counter trend trade because the trend is leveled up in the near term. With the 3 and the 8, the 8 and the 17 are both curling up. Now, if we can get a negative open and trading lower, I can see that, but where would it possibly be going to? There's support, some potential support somewhere in below 230. Are you okay with 234 to 230 or so? Reward to risk. I'm not sure if I am. This is a very tough market right now. Charles wants to look at AER. It's above the 50. Same thing goes with HD. If grab the crayon here. You would be counting on something like that, and somewhere in there is potential support, or it could be all the way down here. 800,000 reports 11.8. It has changed character of sorts. It did gap up, moved all the way up here to about 56 or so, and closed near the lows of the day. So that is negative, but it's kind of in no man's land because you've got potential support below. Again, if you are going to go short, you may want to get in here to an hourly chart and may see if you can pick up some sort of area that maybe above 55 would be a place to place a stop instead of 55.5 or so. You've got potential support levels here and definitely down here at 53. You guys are going to have to work out your own reward to risk. I would go after ones that are below the 50. There may not be a whole lot of them. A lot of times, not right now, I'm sitting on my hands or day trading. Boot Barn. Boot, long, Betsy. Why? Reports on 10/24. It's about a week, 10 days, week and a half. There's a 3-day. There's a weekly. Look at EMAs. What do we got as far as those are potentially the first target levels actually over here. That one wanted to get retested. Could that have been a retest up here at 37.5 or so? Possibly. It could have already retested it. Where would the stop be? If it traded positively on Monday, stop's still got to be somewhere down here. 34.5 or so. Unless you could find something on an hourly chart. And I don't use volatility stops as I want a technically supportable level that it actually proved. The last one that it proved it was right here, unless it pulls back to the 34.5 to 34.75 level and curls back up. So be patient. Let them come to you. Okay. Wutar booking. Wow. Are you really going to be trading a $2,000 stock, Muhtar? I think I'd have trouble. Even if the options were okay, they're going to be extremely expensive. However, on the pattern, 1995 or higher, where's the stop? If you're talking long, right? Yeah. Wow. You're talking $15 to $20 lower for a stop. And what I'm really seeing here, I want to be honest, I see kind of a downward channel. Let me get the regression channel going here. Is that an excursion outside of the zone? Possibly. If I take this and move that and play around with it a little bit. I think we're in a downward trajectory unless we can open up higher. John Stanley wants to look at BAND short. Well, a great place to have shorted this one, thank you, would have been around 75. It never really bounced until we got here. It dropped to the 200. It tried to hold the 200, just like it kind of tried to hold the 50 here, and then it failed. This proves to me as an example of why the moving averages are not support, nor are they resistance. The problem I've got with that biggest one for Band John is it only has 265,000 shares traded. It's well below my criteria. I want around 500,000 to swing. I want $1 million to day trade, and some people will go as low as 250 or so, which that would make their criteria. But that's why you get all these wicks back here. You'll get excursion during the day, and it's 4.4% of the. And I bet you there's going to be a spread to pay, even in stock, and you might have trouble borrowing it. I don't know. This one I'd go find something different, to be honest with you. Bristol Myers. Bristol Myers is in one of these steady Freddy upwards. Look at the 3-day. I think we want to try to get up here to $54. It pays 3%. Nice dividend. Weekly. Yeah, it wants to get up to the $54 or so. And if it can get up over 55, it could run to the 60s, but let's take it one step at a time. Reports on 1031. Not sure if it has any major drugs in the pipeline, announcements that would pop up. But look for a buy the dip scenario, and this one would be good. Roger wants to look at BX short. That one doesn't look half bad as a short. When it did, moved up, moved down. Notice that it hit the 100, tried to rally to the 50 and couldn't, and then went down. Probably it's doing a zigzag here. We're going to need another follow through, probably below 46.50. Do you wait that long? Nope. If it starts trading lower on Monday, you could possibly go long. Short, and your stop would have to be above the shooting star signal there. It's pretty decent. We already talked about Beyond. The McDonald's Beyond Burger jumped $15 last week, Chris. No, I'm teasing. Well, I don't know how it moved $15. Moved down. You mean the Beyond Burger was above 15 bucks? No, 3 weeks ago. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know who's selling it to Burger King, but Burger King has it in all their stores now. All right. Okay. All right, Bill, I'm going to give you the single and only exception tonight. ACC long. ACC pays 3.87% dividend. It trades 625. It reports on 1021. I normally don't try to get in. And these wicks are something I normally avoid. So I would want to go to a 3-day chart or a weekly chart and hold my nose. Pick out a price level and hold your nose. You know, if this is not a long-term hold, it's not. If it's a swing, I really don't like them that much. I bet you this has quite a spread. All right. I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. Remember, Right Way Options, save 50 for the quarterly, semi-annual, or annual plans. And we hope to see you next Sunday night as well. And I will be posting this up to my YouTube channel if you want to review it again as soon as I can get it rendered. You guys have a great day, a great week. Aloha.